Hello everybody, welcome to Awesome Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like on this video. It helps the video do better in the YouTube algorithm, so it's much appreciated. So the last video uploaded on this channel was clearly titled Unfortunately because my thoughts going into Warriors-Kings Game 6 was the Warriors would win this pretty easily, given how good they have been at home and the fact that they hadn't lost a home game yet, rather. I thought after winning one in Sacramento in Game 5 that Sacramento would just kind of naturally lay down and die. Meanwhile, a team that has a history of contention would know not to just play with your food and they would step on the gas in the moment that they need to. But no, that didn't happen. The Sacramento Kings get the Warriors right back winning a game on their home floor, and now the series is tied 3-3 going into Game 7. As for why this game went the way that it did, I would definitely say it just felt like Sacramento stepped up to the occasion, and again, as I mentioned, I felt like the Warriors kind of just took this not as seriously as they should have. They went with Draymond Green off of the bench again, which I don't know if that was necessarily the best decision, given that Jordan Poole was horrible in this game. He's been bad for them far more often than not in recent history, which is definitely something to be concerned about. Andrew Wiggins and Klay Thompson also did not shoot particularly well on this one. I'll say in the case of Klay, the fact that he got to 40% was pretty surprising to me, because while he had a couple of back cuts for layups and some short jumpers that went in, it seemed to me when I was watching this game, it felt like anytime he was putting up a shot, it was not going in. The Kings got a double-digit lead about midway through the second quarter, and from that moment, really, they had full control. There were moments where the Warriors would go on these short runs where it's like, okay, maybe something's happening here, but then the Kings would just strike right back and just make sure they kept that lead at bay, or they kept the comeback at bay. Also, I guess I should mention this video is going to be edited by me, not Rudy, so if it looks different, that's why. This was also another really big Malik Monk off of the bench game, which they've needed. They had those 2 games when he averaged 25 over his first 2 games in Sacramento, and then he kind of went quiet from there, had 28 points off of the bench in this one, and that was definitely much needed, especially given that Kevin Huerter was struggling, as he has throughout a majority of the series. He did hit some big 3-pointers in the second half of this game, but at least for the first half, I think he started off like 0 for 7. Harrison Barnes also did not play much at all in this one. I don't know if he got hurt. I can't recall. I was watching this game off and on again because I had something else going on at parts, so maybe I missed that. But he did not play a ton. That could just be due to the fact that he simply has not been very good in this series. He's had a couple of games in a row where he struggled, and I can't say I'm surprised necessarily. Keegan Murray ended up playing a ton of minutes, though, as a result, as well as Trey Lyles. Keegan did not shoot the ball very well. He did rebound well and play solid enough defense. We played 45 damn minutes. Obviously, it didn't end up mattering too much, but that could have been an area that hurt them. Something else that could have hurt them was that Sabonis fouled out in less than 25 minutes of action, and he was not good in the minutes that he played. I'm starting to look at Sabonis a little bit funny because what he did in the regular season was obviously impactful, but he has been bad in this series. Like I said in the last video, thoroughly outplayed by Kevon Looney. So yeah, that's what I have to say about this one. Game 7, I don't know. I mean, it's going into Sacramento, but I don't expect the Warriors to play like shit like they did in this one. So I'm curious to see where that goes. I'm not going to make an official prediction. My prediction for the series was Warriors in 6, which is why I was pretty confident they were going to pull off this Game 6. But now that it's going to Sacramento, I really do think it's anybody's series, and it definitely leans in favor of Sacramento, given the Warriors' track record in away games, and given that it's, you know, a home game in general. But also, the Warriors only had to win one of the next 2, so letting one slide isn't necessarily the end of the world, but allowing yourself to go to Game 7 on the opponent's home floor definitely isn't ideal. But let's move on to the Grizzlies-Lakers game. I'm going to title this video like the Jaw quote from like, we're good in the West or whatever the hell it was. Do I actually care about that? Do I actually hold that against him? No. But it's a tasty little narrative, and nothing NBA fans love more than a delicious little narrative. And it's funny, you know? So it is what it is. You clicked on the video, so it clearly worked. I'm not actually going to be that critical of him for it. What I will be critical of is Dillon Brooks, because I like being mean to him. I do genuinely think that if just they had a sensible quality 3-and-D player who would just take his open shots, not force things, and not get himself in trouble with shit talk and then act like a baby in front of the media after, that would definitely have helped them in this series. I genuinely believe, like when Draymond Green said that the Grizzlies are going to be finally putting it together as soon as Dillon Brooks is gone, I pretty strongly believe that. I know there are a lot of people who believe that his antics are necessary and have winning results, but have they? Have they really actually had winning results? Like, sure, they've been good in the regular season and all that, but are we chalking up their wins to Dillon Brooks being an asshole to opposing players? I don't really think that's the case. I think he hurts them more often than he helps them, and he should be gone. That's not to suggest that this game is entirely his fault, because the degree in which the Lakers blew them out was insane. The Grizzlies' offense was just absolutely nothing here. It felt like they couldn't get anything inside of the paint. In fact, probably the least standing out box score among the players you would expect to stand out was Anthony Davis. But while he didn't have some crazy scoring rebounding game, the impact he had defensively in this one was significant. And if you went on Twitter, you would notice that damn near everybody was tweeting like, damn, it's crazy that AD doesn't have a DPOY, because he's clearly a DPOY type of player. And he definitely had a very significant impact. The only way that the Grizzlies were even kind of in this for a decent stretch of the game was that they were hitting their outside shots. And that was definitely key. But eventually those threes were not hitting as much, and the fact that the threes weren't dropping and they had no chance at getting anything inside the paint any moment AD was on the floor just brought their offense to an absolute grinding halt. And in the case of the Lakers, I don't think they necessarily did anything that different. It was kind of just more of the same, except the one key difference, D'Angelo Russell showed up big time. 25 points, pretty damn efficient. Yeah, really huge. He's been bad this whole series. In fact, I have been getting to the point where I'm like, I don't think the Lakers should re-sign him. But this 25 piece, he had some difficult shots. He started off the game immediately with a difficult long two, hit a really big three over Ja Morant that was like, the net barely even moved, even though it was heavily contested. Very good game from him. Also put Ja in jail a couple of times for some floaters and stuff like that. So having that performance from him definitely elevated their offense quite significantly. And then again, defensively, the impact from AD was monstrous. So that resulted in a, let me check because I don't remember the exact score. That resulted in a 40-point win for the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm just going to check the box score here to make sure I didn't miss anything that key. Ja Morant obviously really struggled from the field, so you can blame him to some extent for this loss. But again, I would chalk that up to just AD was absolutely had the paint on lock. Aldama had a really good game. He was hitting a bunch of threes. He had a couple of no-dip threes, which is something that I always really appreciate. But that was really the only player who showed up to play at or above the level expected of them. Dillon Brooks was 4 for 11, which definitely makes sense. I found that hilarious because Dillon started the game with a three-pointer, and the commentator, I don't remember who it was, said, this was the law of averages. Dillon has to have a good shooting night because he's had so many bad ones. And I'm like, do you know who Dillon Brooks is? Having a bad shooting night is very textbook. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say. Jared Vanderbilt hit threes. There is also that worthy of mention. But for the most part, this was just a well-rounded team performance. Actually, D'Lo finished with 31. My mistake. I think I turned the game off when he had 25 and just assumed he stopped playing because, you know, it was a blowout. But yeah, not great for the Grizzlies. They definitely need to take a hard look at themselves this offseason and hopefully get rid of Dillon Brooks because I truly believe that's in their best interest. But yeah, that is it. Goodbye.